African countries. I think it's very disappointing. I mentioned this in the meeting as well, to see the posture that African countries continue to assume when it comes to leadership of their own people. African countries are comfortable with being failures.
We cannot be able to absorb the results of all the problems that are made by leaders who want to loot their country, who do not care about their own people. So you can't just blame. You can't just blame South Africa. We are doing the best, but it's time we ask those leaders in our continent to say, what are you doing to make your country better places to live in?
South Africans start the xenophobian attacks. Mozambican respond. They close down the borders.
Mozambicans are planning to blockade freight to South Africa in a bid to counteract the tension that has arisen in South Africa.
Welcome back again to the channel, guys. I still remain your one and only UJTV, also known as Mami Ike. So today, guys, the latest update is Jacinta, the leader of the March on March, came out on a press statement to talk about African leaders that are always fighting them to stop attacking foreigners in their country, that they should face themselves. We all know recently the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Ghana has signed a petition, and it took the petition to AU that they should look into the affairs of South Africans because they are attacking innocent foreigners in their country, closing down their stores. So right now, Jacinta is back to give them back to back. He said all leaders should face their country and stop interfering in the matters of South Africa. And also, Mozambique government closed down their borders. It tried all over the internet, closed down their borders to curb the situation of things in South Africa. I don't know how. Maybe it's for them to stop entering the country, but they said they blocked some trucks that are going to be taking things from South Africa to Mozambique just because of the protest and the xenophobic attacks that South Africans are giving to foreigners in their country. But without further ado, let's take a look at some of the videos to see what actually happened. You can hear it with your ears to see what they're actually saying about, Ghana government sending a petition to the AU and how Mozambicans are blocking their borders. In fact, let's watch this video. So watching this over to like the video, share the video, and subscribe.
South Africans start the xenophobian attacks. Mozambican respond. They close down the borders for trucks that are going to Mozambique for business purpose. And guess what? The president of South Africa responds. You wanna know why? Because they only care about white businesses, their businesses. Suddenly, the president of South Africa shows up to assure the Mozambican government that all is under control. However, there had been countless of protests in South Africa, and the president was nowhere to be found. Guess who this country belongs to? When you affect white businesses, the president will respond. So now you know where you must take your march to next. Let me see you.
Ngoba ama-spaza shops okwamanje lawe niwa-ownayo ngaphakathi edolobheni. We are not ready. Phela mina I'm realistic, man. I'm not a mafunje evele ivuke ekuseni isangane. We are realistic. Right now, kwanongoma, we don't have the funding yet. Yoguthi city muntu wakithi omnyama thatha nansi i-tuck shop ene stock sika 500,000, so they can operate for 1 month from now until end of June, for a month and a half actually. So I granted that because it would be stupid should shut down the town abantu bengazi bazoyithenga phi izinto ezincane.
5 million. 440 only. So you guys will mean that you closed the shops with no plan? So I was right, there was no plan. Now you want funding. Who's gonna fund you for what?
In countries, I think it's very disappointing. I mentioned this in the meeting as well, to see the posture that African countries continue to assume when it comes to leadership of their own people. African countries are comfortable with being failures. Majority of them, of course not all of them. There are very few African countries that can really stand for what is right and stand for their people. South Africa luckily is a country with human rights and has emphasized the importance of protecting the human rights of all, and I think that's why we've become a hub for people wanting to be protected from their own governments. Unfortunately, it's not a fair position to put a country in. Because South Africa is a country, like I said before, that has to take care of its own people. South Africa has a responsibility to the people who vote for the country. South Africa even has a responsibility to the taxpayers of this country. And it's ridiculous to expect that South Africans must absorb every single problem from every single African country. I mean, there's other African countries that are doing well. Let's look at Egypt and Morocco. They're doing well. Ethiopia and Somalia are much closer to Morocco and Egypt. But they never lean towards that area. And I mean, they have a common thing. They've also, all of them identified themselves as more Arabs than they are African. So it leaves you with the question, why are the Arab countries not naturally migrating to the Arab affiliated countries? Why is everyone trying to come into this small country? And there's only one answer to that: it's our laws. And our laws have allowed us to become victims of even the worst kind of criminals. I mean, we sat in a meeting with the Department of Home Affairs, who told us that someone who is caught in Botswana and or runs away from Botswana, comes to South Africa and looks for refugee or asylum seeker status, but they're running away from the death penalty in Botswana, cannot be taken back to Botswana by law in this country, even if they committed all of those crimes. So we asked, okay, what's the next best thing that you do with the person like that? Because naturally, we don't want them in our community either. And the Department of Home Affairs says that no, there's nothing that they can do, because this person was not prosecuted in South Africa. They were prosecuted in Botswana. But now they're facing the death penalty, so we cannot take them back to be prosecuted in their own country, regardless of whether or not this person is the worst kind of criminal, a cannibal at worst. We can't do anything about it, because that is what our laws have allowed. And when you go and do a background check about it, you find out that South Africa entered this United Nations agreement, and when they entered this agreement, they took it copy and paste as it is.
South Africa is under attack not by immigrants but by the global system. Look, I do not condone violence against foreigners, but something has to be spoken about. Every time we try to fix what was broken, land reform, economic transformation, controlling our borders, the world screams racism, genocide, or white genocide, or xenophobia. They have weaponized words to keep South Africans weak, and they have fallen for it. Let me tell you about the word xenophobia. It comes from Greek, fear of foreigners, but in South Africa, it's been twisted into a weapon. Whenever South Africans try to enforce their immigration laws, whenever they demand accountability from foreign nationals who commit crimes, the illegal immigrants who commit crimes, from the past atrocities committed by imperialist forces and apartheid regimes, they are labeled as xenophobic, as people who cannot let go of the past. But here's the truth: South Africa hosts over 4 million immigrants. 4 million immigrants, the most in Africa. We have been the most welcoming country on the continent, including the ones who existed during apartheid. I'm talking about the white people. When I'm talking about illegal immigrants, I'm referring to the ones who are white as well. The ones from Ukraine. We have been the most welcoming country on the continent. I repeat that. But when our hospitality is abused, when we complain, we are shamed. Other Africans have the audacity to call South Africans uneducated and illiterate, yet educated governments constantly twerk for global entities. Look at Nigeria. With all that oil, 60% still live in poverty. Nigerians hold more doctoral degrees in the US than any other immigrant group, but their own country can't feed its people because their leaders sold a nation's wealth. But they have the audacity to tell South Africans that they do not own land and white people still own the wealth. South Africans know that. They are and still fighting against that. So who's the problem, really? Pan-Africanism used to mean unity against colonialism, against imperialism. Today, it's been hijacked. Global NGOs, the UN, foreign powers have infiltrated this ideology. Now, Pan-Africanism is used to guilt trip South Africans into accepting crime, into opening borders without control, into sacrificing our safety for the sake of African unity. Let me tell you something. South African soldiers died in Congo fighting, but that was not given a headline. Look, I am all about uniting with Africans, but we need to fix our home first before we integrate one into one country. Right? As Africans can march against xenophobia in South Africa, but where are the marches against their own corrupt governments? Where are the protests against imperialist forces stealing resources in Congo? Where is the outrage over Sudan's blood shed? It's silence, because the same NGOs funding anti-xenophobia campaigns are funded by the same powers that control those resources.
When you have lived in a particular country for years and those country people decide that, oh, we don't want you anymore in this country, you all should go back to your country. See, for me, even if I have a business there, I'll just risk it and close it down and go back to my country. I know it is going to be very difficult
I know it is going to be very difficult. If only South Africans can give these people time for them to pack their luggages and go back to their country and leave South Africa for them, because they said South Africa is for South Africans. But to me, you see all these things that's happening on the internet. Go back to your country. We don't want you here. You are taking our jobs. You are taking our women. You are taking our this. I think out loud most times. What if all those people decide to leave? What is going to happen to that particular country? How would they trade? How would they do things? But by the way, if they ask you to leave your country, leave and don't return back again. Leave their country for them.